I'm an architecture student. However, I'm currently on a gap year due to financial situations and COVID-19. That being said, I've had a lot of free time to just think and really contemplate, is architecture for me? I've been thinking for so long that I want to be an architect, but do I really want to be an architect? And I've come to the deliberation that yes, I am very happy with being an architecture student, and I want to continue to pursue architecture. Today we're going to be reviewing my portfolios from the first year of architecture school. I'm going to look through them to just remind myself of the growth that I've gone through to get to this point, and to remind myself why, in fact, I truly do love architecture. For my first year of architecture, I took 3 studio classes. My first semester, I took 2, and then I took 1 my second semester. So first semester, the 2 studio classes we took was 105A and 102A. We're gonna start by looking at 105 because this is least architectural-esque, I guess you can say. This class is more of a design class just to get you to the, thinking of design processes and formulating ideas. So architecture 105, let's begin. For 105, we did 4 projects this year. We did 3 by ourselves, and the last project that we did was a group project. The name of the first project was Figure Ground. To start, we looked at the Schindler house, which was what we started doing for Architecture 102, which I will explain later on when I get to that studio class. But for this here, we had to pick a concept or a way to analyze the plan view of the Schindler house using Figure Ground. And so for this, I did the outside space that the house encompasses. We were randomly given a plan of a 1920 house layout, and we had to apply the same concept for Figure Ground for this. While doing this, there were several ideas that we came to, but we picked 2 for our final for that project. I did all kind of fancy stuff with like circles and on this and that, and I was just really trying to be extra because this is the first project of architecture school. But my professor just told me like, yeah, you're doing too much circles. She hated circles as well, and she hated how new students always tried to do circles. So she said, yeah, pack it up. Project 2, movement and composition. I remember this one. So we had to go around campus and look for a spot where there was activities or people passing through, and we had to take a video of it. And then from here, we selected key frames and mapped out the movement in that area. Very busy crosswalk during the day, and I just mapped that out. And so after we mapped it out in our studio, what our studio professor wanted to do, we were each assigned a different type of mapping based on, other references. And we had to make our map look somewhat like that, or use that concept to develop a final map for this project. I did mine based on dance diagram. This was also done all on AutoCAD because this is all we were working on doing that semester. And these line mates, I remember doing all of these lines, and it was just really rough. In this entire class, this was my favorite piece because I actually was kind of happy with how it came out compared to all the other projects. Project 3 was called The Word in Space. There's this piece we read, I don't remember the name, and then from here we had to choose a word or a phrase that we would develop for this project. My phrase was, she was out of milk. This was the second design that I did. The first design, it's a secret. I did not like the second design, but my first design had too much curves. My professor said it's gonna be difficult to do that one, so she wanted me to change it, and this is what I came with. Not happy with how it came out, but it is what it is. We had to do elevations for it. We made a axon drawing. The axon drawing, I enjoyed doing the axon drawing. I thought it was, kind of cool. Once again, we did all of this in AutoCAD. And I'm saying this because next semester we don't use AutoCAD and life gets so much easier. Implemented color for the first time, but we have color gradient, axon here. These were 2 just random ones. This was the final color gradient that I chose, and it's chocolate milk, and I like how it came out. After this, we had to take light gels and build it into a model on a foam board. I chose the colors orange and purple because when you mix orange and purple, you get brown, and I was trying to go for chocolate milk. And once again, I'm not happy with the design of my letters, but you learn, yeah. And the last project was the expanded drawing. For this, we had to look around the School of Architecture, and we were all assigned a site in our studio. And in groups of 4 or 5, we had to analyze the space and create a tape drawing in that space. The place we were assigned was this this hallway in the upper part of the courtyard area in the School of Architecture. We had to draw elevations of it, and then also create a model of it, and then also a model of our plan that we wanted to do for it. So these were the plans. The plans, I think they looked really nice. It looked really cool. Implementing them was a different story. This is how it came out. We ran out of tape. Tape was expensive. It was hard to find. We had to order it on Amazon. So we realized we ran out of tape. It was too late because it had already taken 2 days to get there. It also rained, and as you can see, our site is open and exposed, so it messed up some of the tape. We had to redo it, but we ran out of tape regardless. This is how it came out. Before I tell you the grade I got for this portfolio, let me explain how grading works in architecture. The entire class of 100, or how many studios, are divided into studios with about 15 students each. With grading, only a certain amount of people can get each grade. If everybody puts out A quality work, not everybody can get an A. In each studio, the professors are allowed to give out 1 A, 2 A minuses, 3 B plus, and the rest are B's. God forbid if you got a C or anything lower. For this, I got a B. Honestly, I'm not too mad at it. Looking back at it now, I'm just like, it's a B quality work. Thank goodness it wasn't any lower. But you live, you learn, you grow. This is my B portfolio for Arch 105. And now let's go on to the next, Arch 102A. This class was exciting. It was the first time at architecture school. You're new, you're bright-eyed, you're bushy-tailed. We're doing all kinds of new stuff and using new programs and technology, and you're just feeling so good and so excited. So a lot of these stuff is new for me. There's a little bit of a learning curve, I think, but I had a lot of fun with this class first semester. The first thing that we start with is looking at houses and evaluating those houses. We began looking at houses that will happen in California, around the Los Angeles area. The first house that we studied, the Schindler house. This house is located in West Hollywood. I remember the first day of class, we talked about this house. They gave us the plan, and then the first thing we had to do was go and copy the plans, like literally go and draw over them. I thought this was so difficult. This is the first day of class, and we were already pulling an all-nighter. We started with this as-built plan. This is how it came out. As you can see, this is definitely first-year student work. Yeah, and then we took this plan and we actually went and we visited the house, and then we also had to measure it and started thinking of a concept of, you know, how we wanted to analyze the building. And it was so beautiful. It's like this Japanese style house in the middle of Los Angeles, and I would honestly live in this house if they had air conditioning. I chose to analyze mine by looking at the spaces that were encompassed by the building. So for this, we had to do 2 analytical drawings with the same idea. So I was evaluating the outer space, courtyards and entrances that was encompassed by the building, and I also kind of connected them to show how they made this square. Then what I did is I took that to divide the building into these little sections and rearrange it, having this kind of courtyard. So our project 2 was the Davis house, and this was built by Frank Gehry, and this was a really unique house. We didn't go and visit it. This one, once again, we did the same thing by starting by drawing the plan, and then from there we went on to learn about section. Here's my section 1 and section 2. My section 2 was easier than section 1. And then we had to do a serial section. So here's another section done 3 more times. Then we had to use these sections and create analytical drawings. The first one, I don't know what it was going for, but I was running out of time. It was late at night and I didn't want to think. So I just kind of divided up the space, blocked it up, and showed what it would be like if all of the walls were extended to the roof and how it defeats the space, the flow, the movement, the air in the building. The second analytical, I just basically showed the movement of space as you go through the house from its less concentrated to more concentrated as you go through. Then we come to our midterm. And this is where we got into model making. Let me just say, the first models I made were horrible. They were dirty, my craftsmanship was horrible. But as you progress, your model making gets a lot better and you get a lot used to it and you kind of like it. So for the midterm, we had to take a square chunk of our section or of the house plan and build it. So I did a little part with like the basement going into the hallway. We had to do 4 of those, and then from those 4 we took 1 to develop into transitional models. I focused on planes, so the wall plane and also the floor plane, and I used that to show the different sections of how it was divided. And then we have here with 2 of the floor planes are parallel. The other one is when the floors are like sheared. That's how the as-built is, and I was just highlighting how they interact with each other. I took the concept of intersecting planes and then messed around with it to see, you know, what are other ways that the planes could have intersected or, you know, gone from one plane to the other. The same level of the planes, and I turned it into a slope. And then I took the same amount of planes to the next one and just flipped them to show the intersection. The final model of what I did is I had the wall. This was like a look kind of performative piece. I had the wall, and each of the floors, they slid into place on this wall, and from that you get several models to just show the growth of the planes and their interactions as you build this model up. My professor thought that the final model was very successful, and 2 of my transitional models were really good. The one where the planes are shared, we'll be able to do sections on them, and then also an analytical of these sections. These drawings, I will say I did not put that much effort into looking back, and could have done a lot better job. So next we have the EAMES house. So this is a study house that's in Los Angeles. You, as an architecture student, you probably learn more about study houses. We visited this house. It's close to Santa Monica. Once again, we started with the built plan, and then we also had to do sections of the EAMES house. Not sections, elevations. Then once again, we had to do an analytical drawing. I analyzed how the bars and everything broke up the house into smaller sections and how these 2 buildings were really just 4. And then luckily that was it for EAMES house. Next we moved on to the 2468 house. This house was in Venice. And then here is where we started doing paraline drawings, oblique, axonometric, all that kind of jazz. We did those drawings. But here we had to do the view of 4 sides of the house. We had to do as-built paraline drawings. Then from here we had to do analytical drawings. I analyzed how the name of the 2468 house. I used that ratio, which the house already gave us, and put the walls and windows into that sequence to show what it should have been like, then to validate the name of the house. So this model was just of the first one. This was just really, I was out of ideas, so I just did. And this one is a paraline drawing of the final model, which came out really nice. This was my final model. And for the final, for the studio, we had to use one of our analytical ideas from 2x6 house and implement it into 2 forms and make that into a void in a space, and then we make that into a more of a functional area like a house or a building or something like that. Different students did differently, but that's what we did for our studio. I used the concept that of the 2-4-6-8 house, using that sequence to do my models. I did creating a void where the wall lengths went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, I believe. And so building the voids like that. And so from there I went on to change the materials from like a wall made of wood or something to like glass and so on and so forth. And those are my transition models of the structure. And then we had our transitional for we had to put it on a side of a certain length and width. So these are my two big transitional models. We have two voids here and then two voids there again. When it came down to it, my professors liked both of them, so he said that, you know, I should try one big one and one of the invert structures that I made. So this was my final. I was very proud of how my final came out. The drawings were horrid. Oh my gosh, they don't even look like architecture drawings. I don't know what I was doing, but these sections also, I mean, the sections were good for the building, but the drawings weren't really that strong. During critique, I got good compliments on like the model and the design, but I got horrible comments on my drawings, which honestly I have to agree because my drawings were pretty bad. Exploded polyline drawing for analytical purposes and close-up shots of the model. And that was my 102A portfolio, and the grade I got in that was a B. And I was so distraught about that B. I was like, how could they give me a B? I worked so hard, I did so good, I thought they were amazing. But looking back, yeah, I deserved that B. Honestly, I'm gonna take that B, run with it. Thank goodness it wasn't a C. And you grow from there, so. The hut, the cave, and the tent, we had to go through this whole process of boolean intersection, cutting, dividing, all that kind of jazz.